Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Monday mashup. It's a bank holiday Monday mashup for us over here in Ireland. I'm not sure if it's a bank holiday in the UK. I think that might be next week. I'm not too sure, but it's a bank holiday this week anyway. So, a special bank holiday Monday mashup. We have a great show planned for you. We're going to be going through the Premier League results at the weekend. We're going to be taking a quick preview of what's coming up this week. Football coming at us thick and fast now. It's going to be relentless in terms of content from now till the end of the season. We also put a little poll up there just to let you know. And what the poll basically is I seen it today and I thought it'd be an interesting topic to talk about. It's basically the Ballon d'Or this year. Where do you think the Ballon d'Or is going to be going? Is it going to be Haaland or is it going to be Messi? Now, to set the narrative in terms of the poll before you vote on it as well, what I'm actually talking about here is if Haaland was to go on and do the treble, Match United's unbelievable treble back in '99. If he goes on and does the treble, he's broke nearly every other record this season. So in terms of goal scoring and as much as you can do as a front man in terms of every kind of record that can be broke. And we look at it in a bit in a slide after we do the review and the preview for the Premier League. But if he goes on and wins the treble, is he a shoe-in for the Ballon d'Or, or does Messi winning the World Cup carry more weight in this area for you? So let us know that. That's what the poll is. I put it up there. I thought it'd be a bit of crack. Bank holiday weekend, bank holiday Monday. Had a real good day today and stuff like that. Henry's in the chat. How are we, Henry? Henry thinks a poll. Good question. The master of football or the Haaland? Yeah, absolutely. So that's the idea on the poll. If Haaland was to seal the treble this season, no doubt he's going to continue to score right throughout the end. Let me know your thoughts on the poll. What do you think? Would he win it over Messi, or does Messi lifting the World Cup for Argentina carry more weight for you as a football fan? Evening, Niall. How are you, Henry? Good to see you, man. I've had a great day, Henry. Very productive today. Got up early. I was doing the dogs. Got a bit of gardening in. Went and did a bit of shopping. Have a meal planned for later. Have this podcast going on. Had a nice shower earlier. Do you ever? Thinking of showers now, I had a lovely shower earlier. Let me know your thoughts on this in the chat, folks. You know, sometimes 9 times out of 10 when you're having a shower, it's because you're racing out the door to go somewhere or something is on or stuff like that. But I had nothing on today. I had everything done. So you know where you can have one of those showers where you don't have to rush through it to get through it, to get out, to get ready for something. You can just take your time in the shower. Always really, really nice. So let us know your thoughts. I love those ones. Henry's also Wembley. Listen to Jamie, and he's doing my head in about that. But yeah, Jamie's a good lad, isn't he? He has strong views about some of the stuff, and a lot of it, you know, if you look at it, you look at how he assesses the stuff and all. Normally knocks it out of the park. He's normally spot on. It's just a lot of fans are not willing to say it. He is actually willing to go out there and say it. So, yeah, big up Jamie. But let's start with this Premier League review and preview. So we started off with Palace versus West Ham 4-3. What a game to kick off the season. Unbelievable. Palace players all getting on the score sheet. Ayew, Saha, Schlupp. And then West Ham going toe-to-toe for the mantra and every time they scored. And then obviously the definitive goal was SA on 66 with a penalty to sew it up for Palace. Huge result for Palace. Not what West Ham would have wanted. They would have wanted another few points on the board. You can see there the bottom 10 and you can see there the top 6. So if you look at the bottom 10, West Ham, I think everything up as far as Wolves is still heavily involved. I think now Bournemouth, after picking that big win up at the weekend, 4-1 against Leeds, was an absolute huge result. Has propelled them, I think, anywhere up around the 39. I think you're okay. So that was Crystal Palace versus West Ham to kick it off. Brentford was kind of the late show. You had Danilo for Forest on 45 +1 just before half time. Tony on 82 equalised, and I'm sure Forest must have been absolutely kicking themselves. 90 +4 to Silva getting the winner. Forest coming away with nothing after putting in a serious shift for most of that game. I'll drop a link in a few minutes. Yeah, Henry, absolutely. I'll pop it in there now in a second. Brighton as well, absolutely smashing up Wolves. Wolves still heavily involved now in this relegation battle. Looked like they had been tightening up somewhat in the back. I know Darren had spoke about them, that they had gotten a lot more solid defensively. But this was an absolute rout. This was Noah's Ark. 2 for Undav, 2 for Pascal Gross, and 2 for Danny Welbeck. Absolutely smashed Wolves out of the park and keeps them in that relegation battle. We move on to Sunday then. There was some great games on Sunday. This is where the controversy happened. Bournemouth, of course, absolutely smashing Leeds up 4-1. Raced into a 2-0 lead very, very early on, 20 and 24 for Lerma. Bamford with a goal to pull it back at 32, make it interesting for the second half. That man who's having a great season for Bournemouth this season, our man Dom Solanke, ex-Liverpool player, on 63, and Semio on 90+1, making it 4-1, making Bournemouth more or less safe at this stage with 39 points. And Leeds in serious trouble still. Fulham Man City was the next game. Haaland on 3 minutes with a penalty, making it 50 goals for the season in total. Unbelievable what this man has done, and you'll see it later in our conversation about the Ballon d'Or and stuff like that. But absolutely sensational, some of the records this man has broken. Incredible. Vinicius got one back on 15, made it 1-1 for Fulham, and I'm sure Arsenal fans out there, Morris is in the chat, we'll be chatting to him. Morris must have been thinking we might have a chance here. Who knows? Could they get the draw? You know, and I've been there as a Liverpool fan. I'm sure Henry has as well. We seen that time, remember with the Leicester game when the company stepped up and rifled that one in from about 25 yards when we thought Leicester might get a result and do us a favour. Just doesn't happen that way. The man we spoke about in the preview and on Thursday night, Julian Alvarez, no problem coming in, has done a stellar job this season. Every time he's come in, he's nearly picked up a goal. He's been absolutely sensational this season. So Man City shoot to the top of the table. Arsenal have a chance to reclaim that tomorrow night against Chelsea. We'll get into that now in a second. Next up was Man United, Aston Villa. Kind of a strange one, really. Aston Villa came into this game in great form and stuff like that, but didn't put in a real good showing yesterday, in fairness. Now, United had a number of chances. Fernandes on 39 took his goal. Ball came across, broke to him. He went to put it in, deflected up off one of the players on the deck and into the back of the net. But that was really the story of the game. There wasn't a whole lot else in it. Villa huffed and puffed, but they never really looked like they were going to get at him. I was kind of very disappointed in Villa because I was hoping that Villa might be able to get a result and Southampton might be able to get a result just to tighten up that top 4 race for us. I had a feeling we might beat Spurs, and of course we're going to get into talking about that Spurs. Newcastle looked a little bit on the ropes on 41 minutes. Armstrong scored for Southampton. They went 1-0 up, and people started thinking, is this a bit of a wobble here from Newcastle in this top 4 race? But no chance of that. Wilson on 54 and 81, giving them 2, and Walcott on 79 with an OG, Theo Walcott. So 3-1 Newcastle. They go marching on. I think they're a shoe-in now for top 4. I think United more or less are as well. I think it's very hard. It's going to be tough. I think with 4 or 5 games to go, to pull back 7 points and expect United to capitulate in 3 games probably is a stretch at this stage. But again, they've got Brighton coming up this week, as you can see there. And that's going to be a tough game. And then I think they have West Ham. I'm not too sure. And then we rounded out the weekend. Of course, there's a big game tonight going to be Leicester versus Everton. An absolute, if there was ever the definition of a 6-point relegation match, this is it. I suppose for us neutrals, probably we would like a draw because it keeps everything tight in that relegation battle. But I'm sure Leicester will want to do a number on Everton. And if they do, it's going to be very difficult to see Everton crawling out of that relegation spot. But big up to Newcastle 3-1 against Southampton. Then the one of the games of the weekend, another 4-3, Liverpool synonymous for this, against Tottenham. Raced into a 3-0 lead after 15 minutes. We were absolutely pumping Spurs. And I said it in the preview, we needed a quick start, get goals on the board, and then what we need to do was just put it to bed and stuff like that. But we don't think to do things easy at all. Sure, we don't. We let Spurs back into it. Kane on 40 with the slip from Van Dijk, ball into Kane. 2 boys sitting in the middle of the box unmarked. Kane puts it away. Son on 77. And then on comes Richarlison. Richarlison equalises on 93. And you're seeing the celebration and the pigeon and all that kind of thing. And then out of nowhere, 90+4, literally I think it's something like 33 or 40 seconds later, Jota crops up on the left-hand side and slots the ball home into the right side of the goal. Celebrations were absolutely crazy. We're going to talk about this tonight as well. We're going to talk about a lot has come out of this at the moment. Ryan Mason going absolutely ballistic that Jota was still on the park, should have had a red card. So we will be talking about that situation, but we're not just going to be talking about the Jota one. There was a number of tackles in this game that could have easily seen red. And to be honest, if your name's Casemiro, it would have happened because we've seen it happen. So I want to get your thoughts on them. A lot of Spurs fans very unhappy today. But I think this was another example of a referee. We want the games to flow, but hadn't got control of the game. We still want the refs to keep control of the game, keep the law and order, but still try and let it flow. But there was some nasty ones there yesterday. I really feared for the Diaz one when Skip went in on him first. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, of course. But what it means, City on top, Arsenal second. They're going to play Chelsea tomorrow night. And we know down the bottom, Leicester versus Everton tonight at 8 o'clock is going to be an absolute belter. Top relegation 6-pointer match. And we know tomorrow night, Arsenal versus Chelsea. Can Arsenal go back top and keep the pressure on City? It's really, really important now that Arsenal don't lose their mind. Obviously, they're very disappointed from what happened. And with City going top, it's a frightening prospect when you see it happen, and it's kind of like you feel like you've slipped and lost control and all that kind of thing. But all you can do is keep on putting your 3 points on the board. I would expect Arsenal to beat Chelsea tomorrow night, put the pressure back on Man City and go top again. That's what we need to do, at least for 24 hours, because we know then that City are playing West Ham. And that should be an interesting game. And could West Ham, we seen West Ham last season almost did it, but City came back at them. As a Liverpool fan, I was a Hammers fan that night. It was just, they were nearly there, West Ham, but just City just so powerful. So yeah, Leicester versus Everton tonight, relegation 6-pointer. It's going to be immense, of course. Then the games coming up, Arsenal, Chelsea, we spoke about. Liverpool are playing Fulham. We need to just keep on putting 3 points on the board and just see where it takes us. If anything, Europa League spot, of course, but just keep on putting points on the board. You never know. Anything can happen with United playing away to Brighton on Thursday. And sandwiched in that on the Wednesday, then Man City versus West Ham. Will Man City beat West Ham at the Etihad and recapture top spot from Arsenal if Arsenal beat Chelsea? So lots of moving parts, both top and bottom of this table at the moment. It's going to be an unbelievable run in to the end of the season. Now, folks, link dropping in there for you. Bum, bum, bum. Now, folks, that's the link if anyone wants to come on and have a bit of crack. And it will be. So I suppose the first thing we'll talk about, first of all, is this. It's our poll that's up there at the moment, and it's the Ballon d'Or poll. Let us know your thoughts on that and what you think. Who's going to get it? Of course, the parameters are that if Haaland lands the treble, does he take the Ballon d'Or from Messi? Let me know your thoughts on a vote on it there. There's a poll up there for it. I'll just bring Henry in here now. How are you, sir?
Hi Niall, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. You just need to kill your telly there. Your telly's coming through.
Yeah?
There you go. Perfect. Now, here we go. So that's our poll that's up there tonight. So Haaland, if he wins the treble, or Messi's win at the World Cup with Argentina, which carries the more weight for the fans in terms of the Ballon d'Or? That's what's up there. Just to go through a few comments first, Henry. Morris in the comments, any Richarlison news? He's probably still doing that pigeon dance, no doubt about it. But I tell you, it was absolutely hilarious. And just I said it last night on the match reaction. Don't know about you, Henry, but the thoughts of Richarlison getting the equaliser, and that's how the match would have ended, would have been absolutely shocking.
Yes, but I will say that I think that there should have been at least 2 red cards yesterday. Jota should have gone for his high challenge. That was bad. And also, Skip should have gone for the challenge on Diaz, but also I think it was also Romero should have gone for the pulling back the shirt of I can't remember, was it Gakpo?
Yeah,
Should pull
Gakpo.
him back the shirt.
He also went in heavy on Gakpo as well, 2-footed for the penalty.
Yes, so I think there should have been at least 2 red cards, maybe 3. Shouldn't have been 11 aside. Tierney never should be a referee at all. Never be anywhere near a football pitch. He's a disgrace to the Football Federation. But because he's a referee, he gets the ability to hide behind all the other referees, and they will support him to the hilt, whether he's right or he's wrong. And Lord Pigmore is a disgrace because they don't deal with bad referees. We should have killed the game off. Even at 3-0 up, we should have got more goals, but we took the foot off the gas and paid dearly for it. With letting in 3 goals. The goals were good, but then Slaughter gets the 4th, but really he shouldn't have been on the pitch, and neither should Skip. So it probably should have been 10 against 9, maybe.
Yeah, I suppose the discussion that you have on it is if Skip had been sent off for the tackle on Diaz, he wouldn't have been on the pitch to get the kick in the head. So it's hard to know what way it pans out, you know. I can see both sides of the argument. The Jota one very much reminded me, remember of the Mane one on Ederson? Remember when he went down, the ball came over his shoulder against Man City. Remember Mane got sent off, got a straight red for it and stuff like that. So I can fully understand the argument about dangerous play and all that kind of stuff. But I think yesterday what we witnessed was a referee that wanted the game to flow, but kind of lost control of the game and didn't really ref the game in the way it should be. We want games to flow. We want players to be able to tackle each other. But that one against Diaz, I was very, very worried about at the time. I was in the chat on Jack's channel at the time, and I was very, very concerned that he could have injured him badly there, especially him only back off an injury and stuff like that. I was very, very concerned it would have been just our luck that he got injured and he'd be gone again, you know. So I thought at times there was just an old leg or a foot being left in there a bit too much that the ref needed to sort out, and he didn't take control. And because he didn't take control, that frustration, of course, goes to the sideline. We know how animated Jurgen Klopp is, both in celebration, but also, like you seen the situation where he was down on his knees with his head in his hood on the ground at that decision down by the linesman down the other side and stuff like that and all. And he just got so frustrated by the way decisions were going on the day. We mentioned it before the game that we knew what way it was going to go. Tierney, whatever it is about the relationship between himself and Liverpool, it's a very strange one. And I read an article today, I think, that he's refereed over 20% of our games this season, which seems to be a very high percentage for a single referee to ref with a single club. So it's no surprise that there's history there. And then we've seen all the other stuff with Robbo and the elbow and all that kind of stuff. So we shouldn't really be looking for the refs to do us any favours as such, if you know what I mean. So it was no surprise really either that there was a bit of kickback there. But the way to sum it up, I think there's arguments on both sides for red cards. I think it was a frustrating day for both guys. I think if Ryan Mason had got out of there with a 3-3 draw for Richarlison was the last goal, I don't think it would have been as heated and as his discussion about these things. I think he would have been happy to take the point considering where they were. I think the fact that they blew it in the last 30, 40 seconds of the game with Jota getting the 4th for us, it's a real sickener to leave there after such a comeback. And I think that triggered a lot of what went on. Klopp's comments after the game were very strange in terms of the referee. The PGMOL have come out today with a statement. This is their statement saying that is aware of comments made by Jurgen Klopp after his side's fixture with Tottenham. Having fully reviewed the audio of referee Paul Tierney from today's fixture, we can confirm he acted in a professional manner throughout, including when issuing the caution to the Liverpool manager. So therefore, we strongly refute any suggestion that Tierney's actions were improper. Now, it's very easy for them to review that. I think maybe there should be context in this, and we should all be able to review it and see what was said. Because Jurgen Klopp was pretty adamant that it wasn't handled in the right manner and stuff like that. And he wasn't spoken to the right way either. So, and it's and we know he gets animated. We know he's had trouble with linesmen before. He's gotten into trouble before, and he wouldn't be on the top of the Christmas card list for the PGMOL. That's for sure. But I think at a time where we have VAR taking the fun and the excitement out of the game for fans, I know there's a line that you can cross in terms of the officials and stuff like that. I've been a coach myself, and it's very, very important that you respect the referee and the officials and all that kind of stuff. You don't lose it and stuff like that. A couple of times Klopp has lost it. But I think you want to see that kind of, that kind of fan side sometimes of it, that it means so much to them in terms of what's happened and stuff like that. We've seen it with Mourinho running down the sideline numerous times and stuff like that. We've seen Klopp at times come onto the pitch and jump all over goal, jump all over Alisson. We've seen lots of stuff. I don't know necessarily whether we want to get rid of that. I don't want them necessarily shouting up in officials' faces or getting into fourth officials or linesmen and stuff like that. But I still want them to show us how much it means when something like this happens. And they were in the heat of a battle yesterday that should have really been a training game, but it evolved into a very competitive game. And that man who we love, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree with your comments, Niall. But I do think that Klopp is very passionate about what he wants for Liverpool Football Club. Yes, in that passion can maybe spill out, but whenever we play, we always get referees that are either Manchester or like London-based referees who maybe don't want to give us decisions, but also I think that a lot of other teams in the Premier League get away with a lot more than us. In my opinion, that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I'm not as concerned about the location. I think we can all agree basically that the officiating in the Premier League is really, really poor considering the level of professionalism it's supposed to be at. I don't think VAR has come in and done any favours, to be honest. I think we've seen it. We, as fans, we called for it. We put it up there, said this is the thing that will fix things. It's created more questions than it's answered. But I think the level of officiating is quite poor. I wouldn't necessarily get into the argument about whether we get decisions or we don't. I think over the course of a 38-game season, I think a lot of stuff evens itself out. I think they've lost a lot of high-end officials and referees and stuff over the last couple of years. So I think they're kind of the geographical location doesn't really bother me so long as the game is officiated the right way. But I think as Morris has just said in the comments there, we bring it up, I think the officiating across the board is at a very poor level. We've seen it. I mean, we've seen the Arsenal one with Brentford. I mean, how many times have the PGMOL and Howard Webb have to come out after a weekend to apologise to teams for poor decisions? And this is since Howard Webb has come in as well. He was supposed to come in to nail a lot of this stuff down and get it sorted. And obviously it's going to take time as well. But I think for the size of the Premier League and the financial situation that's in it and stuff like that, and also the risk to managers and teams, especially in that relegation battle and stuff like that, one poor result can relegate you, and that costs club millions, changes the face of their history, all that kind of stuff. We've seen it last year with Aston Villa, with Sheffield United, the goal that was over the line and stuff like that and all, and that could have changed the way that season ended up, but it didn't. Sheffield obviously went down, Aston Villa stayed up, and all that kind of thing. But it's those kind of things. They have to understand the magnitude of their job is absolutely massive, and they have to start getting things right and much better in terms of their control of the game. And I agree, players and managers have a big role in it as well in terms of their respect for the officials. But as we say in all walks of life, respect has to be earned. It's not just a given. And I think what happens is a lot of managers and players out there are very frustrated with the way VAR is interpreted, the unanswered questions, not understanding what's being spoken about between the ref and the VAR official, the fourth official on the sideline as well, who could do a much more active role in dampening things down and understanding things, stuff like that. They're not really heavily involved and stuff like that. There's so many things in there that can be fixed, but they have to figure out a way to keep that respect going for officials and stuff like that. Even though he's our gaffer, we love Jurgen Klopp and stuff like that and all, but I think the reaction yesterday when he spoke about what he felt it being said, whether it was or not, we'll find out in time probably. But we have to figure out a way where we also keep that kind of fun and excitement when you get a late goal or stuff like that and you win like that, to cling to a top four race or cement down a Europa League spot or whatever it is in a big game like that. That's a massive game with huge implications for both teams. And yesterday I just felt the referee at no time in the game had control of the game in terms of his position within the game. And I think that's what frustrated people, and that's how it blew over. And I think there was a lot of banter going back and forward between both benches and both sets of management, between Roy Mason and Jurgen Klopp and stuff like that. And I think that's where the fourth official needs to really earn his wage. He needs to step in there and he needs to dampen it down much quicker before it spills over. And I just think yesterday he didn't, and I think that's the only way you can really sum it up,
Yeah. I also think that referees should use the monitor more often, even if a decision that he has taken is not quite right. I mean, that's what a monitor is there for. To be implemented when referees might not get the whole picture of the actual offence, of what's been committed. You don't see many referees either being told by VAR to go to the monitor, or they go to the monitor themselves. Otherwise, what's the point of having monitors if you're not going to use them?
Yeah, well, it's kind of trying to arrive at that happy medium, isn't it? Because you have a situation where the ref wants it. The ref wants VAR to make the decision or back up the decision, and VAR wants the referee to make the decision. And between the two, they sometimes just don't meet in the middle. And that's the kind of problem there, And I just think it's like Morris's point here, I think is spot on. The rest have had no impact on how poor Liverpool have been this year. That's 100%. We know that, absolutely. And I think it is officiating across the board. I think a number of teams this season could feel very hard done by a lot of decisions that should have been very black and white decisions in order to make a decision on, and they just didn't. They got it wrong, and that was it. So Morris is spot on. I don't think it's necessarily us. I think it's across the board. A lot of teams have had terrible decisions go their way and all. Look, we seen it even last year in the run in the Everton game at Man City. Blatant handball doesn't get seen and stuff like that. So many poor decisions. We could put a litany of them together at this stage. So, Morris, I think you're spot on there. Absolutely. I don't think it's a case that it's any one club. And I always do say, between penalty decisions and any other decisions, I think over the 38 game season, the luck evens itself out. And And I think that's the case for us. I think we've just had a really poor season. Our season really started 5-6 weeks ago, really, if you think about it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see now. I think he could be in. I think he could be in trouble here with the PGMOL if it comes out that there wasn't necessarily to the extent of what he thought it was, that back and forth with him and Tierney and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. But this is now maybe an opportunity for Howard Webb to come in and lay down a marker in terms of what he wants to do. And I don't mean necessarily in terms of coming in and, giving Jurgen Klopp like a 10-match ban or whatever it is. I mean actually like, cooler heads need to prevail here in terms of sorting this out, because otherwise this is going to continue to escalate and escalate and escalate. And it's like, we don't want that. We don't want to get to a situation where certain refs can't ref certain games because of the stability of the game before it even kicks off and stuff like that. So I think Howard Webb needs to sit down, and I think a meeting between themselves and the managers to come to a real proper way of understanding and doing things needs to happen, and that's what I would say. Morris is in. There was a conspiracy theory against Casemiro a while back too. Remember? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And on some of that as well, I think. On some of it, I think it was harsh. I think the one where he got the red card and he got the ban because he grabbed your man by the collar or whatever it is, I thought that was very harsh. You know what I mean? And look, I've no reason to stick up for United or Casemiro in any way, but yeah, spot on. Daz in the house, big up Daz. Niall and Henry should skip have seen red. 100% Daz. We were just talking about it earlier there. I think he should. Now, I think in fairness, I think he left it in there a bit too much, and it was horrific for me, And look, we could talk about Romero and Gakpo as well. We could talk about a number of things. There was plenty of jersey pulling yesterday as well. That used to be a card. That used to be looked at by VAR, but it isn't. So lots of stuff at the moment as up in the air and stuff like that. But normally, what comes out of it is this. This is what you tend to see. Right. The other thing. Yeah, big up, Daz. The other thing we have to speak about, and Warren did a great show on it yesterday, 100 years of Wembley Stadium. This is a topic that deserves probably its own episode, but I wanted to give it a bit of time on the show tonight. I think it's so many great moments in that stadium, so many iconic moments in that stadium, that I thought we'd spend a bit of time going down through some of them. So I have some notes here because there's so much on it. How can you remember it all and stuff? But absolutely iconic. I've only ever been there once, Henry, and the one time I was there was the Community Shield against Man City when we lost on penalties. That's the only time I've been to Wembley. A few years back. So there you go.
I've been once, way back in when I was at school. They had a women's hockey game. Got to be late 70s. But that was my only time at Wembley because it's a once in your lifetime to go to Wembley. But it's our national stadium. So I was surprised that it's 100 years though. But yes, so many events have taken place at Wembley. So yes, it's a remarkable stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much stuff that sticks out there when you talk about Wembley. And in the chat, let us know. Let us know, of course, if you're hitting up our poll there. Haaland versus Messi, Ballon d'Or. If Haaland wins the treble this season, continues to break all these records, does he take the Ballon d'Or? Just before we get into Wembley, I'll flash it back up there again. This is all the records he's broken. He's the fastest player to do this. He's the most complete player to do that. He's after breaking a record in the Premier League. I think that goes all the way back, if I'm right, to 1931 or something like that. With those 50 goals and stuff like that. And look, he ain't finished yet. There's a lot of games for Man City still to play this season, and he's just going from strength to strength, just relishing it all the time. So that's our poll tonight. Haaland versus Messi. If Haaland wins the treble, does Haaland take the Ballon d'Or, or does Messi winning the World Cup for Argentina take the Ballon d'Or? let us know in the poll. Let's get back to Wembley. So I suppose, I mean, some of the iconic things that were there, Henry, of course, Live Aid, of course, comes to mind straight away. Absolutely massive. I remember it well. Of course, the '66 World Cup, I wasn't around for that, but of course, it's iconic in its own right. Um, and of course, we remember there's so much stuff. But I'll go back through some of the stuff that's there. Obviously, 1951, Argentina became the first overseas visitors to Wembley for a full England international. 1951. Um, at 31 years old, Alf Ramsey became the first player to score a penalty for England at Wembley. His 65th minute successful spot kick earns a 2-2 draw with Austria. So you go back to some of these iconic moments that are here. Let me see, pick out some good ones. West Ham, of course. West Ham hammers high. 1965. West Ham United became the first British team to win a European trophy at the stadium. They beat TSV Munich 2-0 in the final of the Cup Winners' Cup. And they're all interesting ones. They're pub quiz ones as well. Because if you think about it, that one would not just suddenly come to mind and stuff like that, you know. 1968, United top Europe. Manchester United lift Europe's premier trophy, the European Cup, beating Benfica 4-1 after extra time. How could we forget? 1968, Henry. This is how we'll show our age now. 1968, right? West Brom's Dennis Clark becomes the first substitute to be used in a Wembley FA Cup final. It's also the first time a final to be broadcast on TV in colour. 1968 was the first time a final was broadcast in colour. I'm definitely showing my age here now anyway, that's for sure. People are probably wondering, what do you mean in colour? What's this black and white malarkey? You know, so interesting, all right. Daz is in Niall. I remember the old Wembley in '92. SummerSlam was there. Yeah, absolutely. Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. And I went to Clash at the Castle last year. It was in Cardiff, Wales, in the former Millennium Stadium. And it was like a 30-year celebration from '92 to 2022. And it was a brilliant show and all, but it just didn't feel like it probably should have been in Wembley to mark the 30 years, you know. But however, really, really good, really, really good. How could we forget it? How could we forget it at all? Let me see. Let's get it. 1974, the FA, the Charity Shield, now the Community Shield, gets a new lease of life when Wembley starts hosting it. So that was the first time Charity Shield, Community Shield come back to Wembley. 1975, Henry, because all this is not just going to be football. There's a lot more to this old stadium, this old lady, as they say, than just football. 1975, if I said to you one joint leap, would that ring a bell? Of course, I'm talking about the man himself, Evel Knievel. Unbelievable, jumping all those London buses, if you remember, and crashed and did himself some serious injuries that day as well, but unbelievable.
Yeah, 1974 was the first time I supported Liverpool Football Club.
Very good. 1978. You know, we talk at the moment about respect and the problems with racism in society and all that kind of stuff and how it needs to be hammered out and all that kind of thing. But 1978, Viv's great moment. Viv Anderson becomes the first black player to receive a full international cap for England. He wears the number 2 shirt in a 1-0 win over Czechoslovakia. So some really great historical stuff here, you know. 1979. This one will make you smile, Henry. I'm going to cheer up all our Arsenal fans in here, Morris and all, with this one. 1979 was described as the 4-minute final. How could we forget it? Arsenal win the FA Cup, beating Manchester United 3-2 after 3 goals are scored in a frantic last 4 minutes. So there you go, Morris. That'll cheer you up if you're feeling a bit down about the title push this season. There you go. I popped that in there for you. 2000 seen the final farewell. Of course, we spoke about Live Aid and stuff like that, but Oasis played the final concert at Wembley Stadium before demolition. and later released the show as an album that shifts millions of copies worldwide. Of course, the great Oasis back then. Um, 2000 seen the last kick. England's men played their last international at Wembley, losing 1-0 to Germany before construction of the new stadium begun. That was that one. 2003 saw the towers recycled. So the towers were demolished, I should say. They were taken down brick by brick and the rubble used in the new stadium's construction. So within the new stadium's construction is the old brickwork from the towers. So it's nice little touch there, history and stuff like that, throwback, you know. 2004 saw the arch being completion, that famous arch that goes over the stadium. Wembley's arch is lifted into place. The striking 133-metre tall structure is the world's longest single-span roof support structure and is visible right across London. Unbelievable architecture at the time. Now, 2007, the score draw. After some test events, Wembley officially reopens and England men's team take on Brazil in a 1-1 draw. Skipper John Terry nets the England goal. Score draw 2007. Also in 2007, NFL rolled into town and NFL hosted a match there at Wembley as well. It was the Giants edged out the Miami Dolphins 13-10. So it's again, when we talk about this iconic stadium, it's not just football. There's so much stuff related to this stadium. Do we need to mention 2011 Messi leads Barca? Do we need to talk about that one? Of course we do. The UEFA Champions League final comes to the new Wembley for the first time, with a Lionel Messi inspired Barcelona beating Manchester United 3-1. Of course we'd have to mention that, wouldn't we? 2015 saw the first women's final hosted at Wembley. Fans watched Chelsea beat Notts County 1-0. So the first women's final, 2015. Great to see them continue to develop.
Is the Leicester game at 8 o'clock tonight?
It is
Niall?
8 o'clock, yeah. As far as I know, 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'll just check it there now for you. We'll be off and all for that, Henry. Where are we? Yeah, 8 bells, 8 o'clock. Now, Ian's in the comments. What's the crack, Noel? It's how's it going, Henry? He was going to go at Stazzler time. He pulled back. 2017, Joshua claimed the title. How could we forget? 90,000 fans saying Anthony Joshua claimed the world heavyweight boxing title, stopping reigning champion Vladimir Klitschko. If you remember that boxing fight, Henry, he got wobbled first of all, and then he bounced back out of the wobble to claim it. Absolutely stellar fight. Absolutely propelled Anthony Joshua up there into absolute stardom. 2018 saw the fastest Wembley goal. And to date, 10.54 seconds when Christian Eriksen then of Tottenham Hotspur netted against Manchester United. That's when they were playing their Premier League games there, when the new White Hart Lane was being built. They were residents at Wembley, if you remember. And I rounded out then with 2021, the UEFA Euro 2020, the final. The pandemic delayed men's UEFA European Championships are held across Europe. Wembley is the main venue and hosted 8 matches, including the final. England are beating finalists, losing on penalties to Italy. How could we forget? That rounded out the moments for Wembley that I had put down and jotted down. Interesting, but of course we talk about Live Aid and Freddie Mercury and all that kind of stuff. It was just unbelievable. Such an iconic stadium, and it's amazing when you walk up that new Wembley Way as well and all. It's mad. You really do feel like you're going into like a gladiators arena and stuff like that. That walk up that ramp all the way up to the stadium and stuff like that is absolutely fantastic. Ian's in the comments. Sorry, a bit late. Was out with the wife and kids. Not a bother, Ian. It's a bank holiday. Hope you're enjoying that weather as well. Any other moments, Henry, stick out in your mind when you think of Wembley?
Oh, God, Wembley. Well, it's an iconic stadium. There's so much joy and camaraderie shared in that stadium over the years. Like I said, I didn't think it was 100 years. Um, and like going there, I think it was late 70s. When I was still at school. Um, you always get the feeling of, well, it to be there in the stadium. It's just awesome because it's the national stadium of England, and so many things have been shown in that stadium. Um, so yes, I mean the wear and tear of it, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I often remember as well. I remember it sticks out in my mind. Of course, Gazza's goal. Remember the one where when they were playing Scotland and he put the ball over Hendry, slotted it home, and he was getting an awful time from the British press at the time about his drinking. I remember he went down on the ground and they were pouring the water bottles, squirting the water bottles on him, and he was stretched out and stuff. That was an iconic goal at the stadium at the time and stuff like that and all. Yeah, so some great memories of Wembley and stuff like that. Unbelievable. It's so iconic, and as you said, it's hard to believe it's 100 years. When you go back through time and you look at it and stuff like that, it's just absolutely iconic. Deserves a show to itself. What did you make of the news at the weekend as well? I suppose we could end out the show by talking about Jeff Stelling stepping down at Sky Sports. He's been iconic, I'm sure, in your life and in my life. Most Saturdays on our screens for Gillette Soccer Saturday, and the iconic guests he's had down the years: Frank McClintock, Rodney Marsh, George Best. He's had some great panels in there and stuff like that. Phil Thompson, some brilliant ones and stuff like that. But sad to see him go. And I know he announced it before, and then he kind of backtracked on it and stuff like that, and he came back and stuff like that. But I think he means it this time, and I think I'll probably do a show dedicated to Jeff Stelling's best moments on Sky Sports when the season ends. It'll be one for the summer, maybe when the football is dampened down a bit. But we also got double the news yesterday. We also got that Graham Souness is leaving after I think 15 or 16 years doing punditry on Sky Sports as well. Often a very feisty character, often very controversial, but no less an interesting character as well. Of course, as Liverpool fans, very fond memories of him as a player, not so much as a manager. And I like the way he said it himself yesterday. I loved his interview at the end where he said he's really enjoyed the journey of being a pundit and being on TV analysing football. But he knew very quickly that he wasn't cut out for management because of his attitude and his temperament and stuff like that and all. And it was nice to hear him say that, actually, because it would be a view that would be shared by a lot of people, but not often expressed by the person in question. So it was nice to hear that. So it'll be a shame to lose him as well. I liked it because he's gotten quite feisty with Neville at times, and Carragher and Keane. No less, of course, we remember fondly one of our last biting memories of him will be where he felt Liverpool were going to trash Man United a few weeks ago, and they were all laughing at him, and we went out and we beat United 7-0. So he got it
Yeah.
spot on, and I think everyone, even including Carragher that day, had to eat humble pie on that call. So yeah, it's a big one, losing Souness, and yeah, losing Souness is a big one, and obviously Jeff Stelling as well, a big part of our football fandom growing up as well. Stuff like that, fantastic, those moments. And of course, Jeff being a big Hartlepool fan as well, some of those moments are class. And the relationship between himself and Chris Kamara, I don't know Jeff, all those moments. Wonderful, wonderful, iconic TV that people for years will talk about.
Yeah, I think with Jeff Stelling, I wasn't there for the start when he first did Sky Sports Soccer Saturday, but once I got wind of it and started watching, I was hooked. When it was Letitia, Phil Thompson, um, and Charlie, and Paul Merson.
Yeah.
And obviously the Super Six that I do and loads of others do. But I think when I heard the news that he was going to step down on Twitter, and then he backtracked on it. I thought it was a bit weird because Jeff Stelling has been an outstanding icon for Sky Sports. He's been outspoken against certain things that have happened. Especially, I think some of the recent stuff that has come out of Sky Sports. But I thought that was done and dusted with Jeff Stelling, that he was staying. So to hear that he's now really going, I think that's the end of the era for Sky Sports, because although Paul Merson is still there, when they broke up that the four chaps, that was bad in itself. But just keep Paul Merson, I don't understand what they did, and why they did it. So yes, seeing Jeff Stelling go, that's sad. And your thoughts on Graham Souness? You are spot on. He was a better player than manager. I didn't rate him as a manager, but he was better as a player. But yeah, 15 years is a long time to be a pundit. As we've seen Alan Hansen go out, and others before him. So things need changing, freshening up. So whoever comes in to fill Jeff Stelling's seat will be, whether it's a woman, or whether it's another man, I don't know.
Big boots to fill. Boots to fill.
Huge boots to fill.
Yeah, I think our digestion of football content is going through a massive change and shift at the moment. We see it even with Soccer AM finishing up this season as well and stuff like that. A lot of what we would have watched and all. So, and I think that the onset of sort of content creation and YouTube and StreamYard and content creators and stuff like that, I see it going more that route going forward and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops. But of course, we wish Graham and Jeff all the best in what they do or what they intend to do and stuff like that. So they've provided us with God knows how many hours and weeks and months and years of fantastic entertainment. They've been there for all our highs and lows as football fans. So many of them. And again, we will do definitely a show in the summer when the season has calmed down on both men showing their highlights and stuff like that. And it'd be really, really cool to have it. So just leaves me to let people know our poll that we ran tonight. 86% are going with Erling Haaland, no surprise. 14 with Lionel Messi. I didn't think it was going to be that clear cut, but interesting to see. I wonder, will the panel that looks after the Ballon d'Or see it that way, or will they give Messi one more swan song, as they say? Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I planned to do a lot of sports once the football season has ended, like the darts, and other sports, to fill like the Saturdays and the Friday. So it won't just be the end until we get to August. So Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to
That'll be
interrupt.
no, that'll be great. That'll be great for your channel as well. She'll bring in more subscribers as well. And as always, subscribe to Henry's channel and to Morris's and anyone else in the chat who has channels. Subscribe to all the channels. Share the wealth, as we say. Until next time, folks. Henry, an absolute pleasure having you on again, giving us your
Yeah,
views on
thank you
stuff.
very much, Niall.
Thank you to everyone in the chat, as always. If you can, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and of course, a like on the video. I will be back tomorrow night at some stage. It will go up on the channel with a full and preview. I think at this stage, doing these previews, we could just do rinse, repeat, and just change the name of the team. There's nothing kind of new that comes out of it, but of course, I'm sure there'll be more chat on the Jota situation and the Klopp situation as more news unfolds. I will be back Wednesday night with Dynamo's dozen at the earlier time at 7 p.m. Because obviously I'll be following the Liverpool game from May. But join us on Dynamo's dozen. Great show planned for that as well. If pro wrestling is your thing, Thursday I'll be back on your screens, of course, for Thursday Tier Talk with Dazzler. We'll be going through our picks and tips for the weekend, Premier League preview, and getting Darren's thoughts on some of the key football headlines from this week. Until next time, folks, an absolute pleasure.